Welcome to part 2 of how to use the Blackboard test converter to add multiple choice questions. In this video, I'm going to show you how you would add a stimulus, which is an AP thing where you have a prompt before the question. So you need to start like we did in part 1. I already front loaded this. You copy and paste the questions you want. Now, these two questions, you'll notice, just don't happen to have the stimulus, but we're going to add that. So once I do that, I go to create my quiz. And just like before, it's going to download with the two questions. So we're going to do that again. Now, I'm going to go back to Schoology and do the same thing I did before, which is here. Now, I've got my questions. So let's go back to the test quiz from the last video. And that happens to be right here. Now, you could actually do this in bulk with all your questions, but because we split it up into two parts. So actually, I went to the wrong screen there, but we go to practice quiz, and then we're going to go to edit the questions. Now, if I want to add a question, just like before, I can import from a test or quiz, but this time we're going to bring in my two stimulus questions. So those are right here. It's the later download. And we're going to go to open. And now I've got question 6 and 7. Now these have the stimulus. This is where it gets a little dicey because I want them to see that graph. But if I go to the question, you'll notice the graph isn't there. So the challenge is, well, how do you do that? So I have my graph saved in my word test, which was right here. So what you do, and again, I just apologize, there's no easy way to do this. You right click on it and then you save that as a picture. Okay, and it is going to go. I typically do this when I'm making a test. I would put it in the folder with the test. I find that's easier. And I will just make a folder called images. So this happened to be the unit 4 test. So I'm going to go here, and actually I already have a folder called images, but I'm going to call this, I usually try to call it something, or I'll put them in order so that I'm going to use the stimulus. So let's say picture 1. Okay, and it's going to save it here. Now I go back into Schoology and I need to get that picture. So you leave a little bit of space over the first question, then we're going to go grab the image. So you do that here when you say image content. Now we're going to say image media, and then we're going to go find our picture. So it then looks for it. It's going to be in the last one here, and we're going to say picture 1. Then we open, and there is our question. Now we shrink it because it can get a little unmanageable and they do tend to come in big. So I will usually make it here. And then we can hit save the question. Now you have a choice. You can put the stimulus in above each question that's going to take the stimulus, or you can actually just keep the questions in order and not have the stimulus above each question. That actually works a little easier. So for example, if we were going to preview this, it could look like this. And then you would see that. And then if this question also took the stimulus, you would see that as well. And that generally, I have found works better. Now, let's go back to our question. And what if the question was a text stimulus? Well, that is pretty easy too. You actually just, instead of putting in a picture, you would actually just delete this and you could go back to your test and you could find a text stimulus like this, even though this doesn't go with that question, and go back over, and then you just paste it in. And then there is your stimulus. And then you just save that question. So that is how you do that. That generally has worked well for me, and then your quiz is ready to go. It is a little time consuming, but works